It's known as the race that stops the nation, the prestigious Melbourne Cup and Australian racing's Holy Grail, which is held every year on the first Tuesday in November. And now, as big Asian money fuels an investment boom in Australian racing, a new kind of East-West connection is playing out at the track. Chinese-Australian businessman Barry Pang is one of the owners of race favourite Fiorente. He's teamed up with the First Lady of Australian racing, Gay Waterhouse, in the hope of making history. Tracy Hutchinson reports.
Guys, most important is the coordination between the hand and feet. How you fit everything together.
A Kung Fu school in Australia's suburban Melbourne is a long way from the riches of the country's premier horse race.
Okay, I'm creating a path here so that I can strike through.
But after 4 decades pioneering martial arts training in Australia, racehorse owner Barry Pang knows the value of timing and position.
But the power comes from our legs and hips. Well, I think martial arts is something I started with. This became from a hobby to a business, and then using those principles that I learnt in that business time applied to horse racing, which was another one of my hobbies. Looks fantastic. Great effort on Saturday, mate.
As part owner of Melbourne Cup favourite Fiorente, Barry Pang is in good company. Well, Barry, here he is, the horse of the moment, Fiorente, trained by the wonderful Gay Waterhouse. Is it a winning combination? Oh,
I think so, yes. Obviously, everyone in Australia thinks so. He's the red-hot favourite at the moment after his run in the Cox Plate. Everyone's got his name on their list.
His flourishing partnership with the First Lady of Australian racing speaks volumes of a burgeoning market, where deep Asian pockets are eyeing Australian racing's biggest prize.
There is a lot of money involved, and a lot of people are business people. They're not just horse racing people. I mean, there is that link between property, horses, art, all the finer things in life. And secondly, the prestige of horse racing. I mean, it's the sport of kings.
It is certainly a big business. You only have to look here tonight. There's 400 or 500 people here, and all of them most of them are Asian people that have invested in or are investing in bloodstock.
This recent event at Melbourne's Crown Casino saw a who's who of Asian business in Australia touting a new kind of Asian century.
Already, quite a number of consortiums from Asia are setting up race tracks, race courses, they're acquiring horses, and of course the biggest source of horses is from Australia.
With the sort of so-called maybe end of the mining boom, we need something to replace it. The horses is probably the next area where Australia can really advance its economy.
Australia's door to Asia's love affair with racing was opened by the legendary trainer Bart Cummings in the 1970s. His partnership with the Malaysian businessman Dato Tan spanned 4 successful decades. Then, in 2006, a Japanese duo took the Cup Quinella. Very little between them. This year, with champion jockey Damien Oliver on board and Gay Waterhouse angling to win her first Melbourne Cup, the stars are lining up for another Asian success story.
From a jockey's point of view, just how big is Asian business to Australian racing at the moment?
It's very important. Hong Kong has always been the mecca of Asia of racing, and of course Japan is big as well, and Singapore as well. So, a lot of horses from Australia go to race there, and China's starting to open up for racing as well now.
But as one of the new faces of Asian investment in Australian racing, Barry Pang's connections are less big money and more big dreams. Growing up in Australia in the 1960s, Barry was the only student in class with Chinese parents, and he learned at an early age to straddle the cultural divide.
I think in Australia is one of the most important things, sport. I think when you're a kid, if you're smart, they call you a nerd, or they have all sorts of names, brain, etc. But if you're good at sport, you become a hero at school. So if you can mix in sport, you make a lot of friends, and you become one of the in crowd.
And sport is in the blood for the Pangs. The great Bruce Lee is a maternal relative.
Bruce Lee made Asians acceptable in the Western culture. Unlike other actors that were famous, everyone wanted to be Bruce Lee rather than just admire him.
Now Barry Pang's son Chris is making his own mark in Hollywood.
Well, I wish he's probably following small footsteps, but you know, it's a dream of his as well to perform, and hopefully he'll get the chance to do that in Hollywood.
If you can live the dream here, Gay.
But as Cup Day looms, it's a different kind of showbiz that's taking centre stage.
Well, this is it, the main straight at Flemington, and on Melbourne Cup Day it's Australian racing's field of dreams, the place where legends are born, history is written, as the spotlight turns to the race that stops the nation. And for Barry Pang, it's all about Fiorente, the Irish horse with the east-west connection and racing's holy grail. Winning the Melbourne Cup, what would it mean for you as a Chinese Australian? It would be a bit of history for you. What would it mean for you?
Well, we'd be the first. I mean, obviously Dato Ching Nam's won it, but he's not an Australian Chinese, so being Australian Chinese in our #1 sport in Australia, it'd mean a great deal and it'll be a great achievement.